In a world obsessed with impact, permanence, and the desperate pursuit of significance, there's a group of people who move through life quietly, intentionally, and often misunderstood. People who don't dream of monuments, don't fantasize about being remembered, and don't feel compelled to leave a legacy behind. Society treats this choice almost like a moral flaw, a failure of ambition, a betrayal of what life is supposed to mean. But here's the raw truth, the one that destabilizes our entire cultural idea of purpose. Some people don't want to leave a legacy, not because they lack dreams or depth, but because their understanding of existence is fundamentally different. And if you're one of them, if the idea of being remembered forever feels uncomfortable, irrelevant, or even burdensome, chances are the world has never made space for your perspective. We're taught that life must echo beyond itself, that our value is measured by what remains after we're gone. But what happens when someone sees life not as a project to preserve, but as an experience to live fully and release completely? Today, we're going to unravel the psychology, the emotional roots, and the misunderstood power behind people who don't desire a legacy. And before you judge, ask yourself this. Have you ever wondered why we're taught to fear being forgotten? And who benefits from that fear? Because once you start questioning that, the entire narrative of legacy begins to collapse. Let's start where few are willing to go: childhood. People who don't leave a legacy often grew up with a complicated relationship to responsibility. Maybe they carried too much too early, caring for siblings, managing emotional environments, or cleaning up the messes of adults. When you grow up like this, the idea of leaving something behind for the future doesn't feel noble. It feels exhausting. It feels like another obligation. To someone raised inside pressure, legacy feels like a trap disguised as purpose. Others grew up in homes where achievements were demanded and worshipped. The message was clear: you matter only if you produce something worth remembering. For those children, legacy was never a dream, it was a burden, a scoreboard. As adults, choosing not to leave a legacy becomes a form of liberation, a declaration that their life finally belongs to them. But for others, the story is shaped by a worldview built around impermanence. Some people are simply wired differently. They don't measure value through permanence or equate worth with endurance. They understand that everything, memory, existence, identity, is temporary. And instead of fearing that truth, they find peace in it. They see life as a moment, not a monument. This isn't apathy or nihilism. It's clarity. Then there are those whose detachment from legacy comes from wounds the world never sees. People who have been forgotten before emotionally or socially and survived it. They discovered that being forgotten doesn't kill you, that being unseen doesn't erase you. For them, the pressure to leave a mark feels almost absurd. Because they've lived the truth most people avoid: we are all forgotten eventually. This brings us to a profound psychological reason. Some people reject legacy because they see it has little to do with the person who leaves it and everything to do with the ego of those who stay behind. Legacy is often performative, a curated story, a self-preserving myth to pretend we can outsmart mortality. The people who reject legacy aren't rejecting meaning, they're rejecting illusion. Let's peel back the emotional layer. Some people don't leave a legacy because they've spent their lives trying not to take up too much space. They're the ones who apologize too much, who learned early on that their presence was tolerated, not celebrated. The idea of leaving something behind feels intrusive, like overstaying their welcome. They don't want to be remembered because they were never encouraged to believe their existence mattered enough to remember. On the other side, some feel the exact inverse. They are hyper-aware of their presence and their impact in intimate, personal moments, a conversation, an act of kindness. These people don't need legacy because their impact is immediate, happening in real time. They don't care if the world remembers them. They care if the present moment is alive. This is what society misunderstands. Not wanting to leave a legacy is often a sign of valuing presence over permanence. It's cherishing the lived moment more than the imagined future, prioritizing the inner experience over the outer narrative. And yet, people who don't desire legacy are often judged harshly, called unambitious, selfish, or wasting their potential. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Legacy is a luxury for people who have enough emotional space to care about it. And now we reach the core. Some people don't want to leave a legacy because they simply want to live, not perform. They want to exist without turning themselves into a story for others to interpret. They want freedom from the pressure of significance. Legacy demands projection. Presence demands authenticity. And some people choose authenticity every single time. This brings us to the emotional climax. Not wanting to leave a legacy isn't a sign of emptiness. It's a sign of peace, acceptance, and inner freedom. These people have reached a level of self-awareness that disrupts the need for external validation. They understand that being remembered is not the same as being fulfilled. And here is the deepest truth of all. Some people believe the beauty of life is that it ends. Its finiteness is what makes it precious. Trying to manage how you'll be remembered is just another form of fear. Not everyone is afraid of being forgotten. Some find comfort in it, a release from pressure and expectation. This doesn't mean their life lacks meaning. In fact, the opposite is often true. People who don't seek legacy tend to live more deeply in the present, more consciously in relationships, and more honestly with themselves. They don't need legacy because they live authentically, and authenticity is its own kind of quiet immortality. If you resonated with any of this, if you've ever felt guilty for not wanting to be remembered or pressured to make a mark, let this be your validation. You are not wrong. You are not empty. Your life does not need an audience to matter. Legacy is not the only way to live meaningfully. If this message gave you clarity or a language for something you've felt your whole life, hit the like button to help it reach others who carry the same truth. And don't forget to subscribe, because next week we are diving into another uncomfortable topic that challenges everything you've been taught. Remember, you don't need to be remembered to be real. You don't need to be permanent to be profound. You don't need a legacy to live a life that was worth living.